like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Red Room Podcast. I am your boy Jaxo, and you already know, free nuke until nuke is free. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This video is sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts Iced Coffee. Not really, but Dunkin', you need to fuck with me. Look, I'm consistent.
Have to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take in that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now. Make sure you, in fact, let people know. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now. Make sure you, in fact, let people know your senators. I'm not going to answer the question.
Why would you answer that question?
The question is,
radical left.
Will you shut up?
This segment, we're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
So it's China's fault. It's China's fault. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job.
Well, you didn't do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. You're a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all. Nor do you. I know you don't. I don't trust him at all. Nor do you. I know you don't. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist. You know.
That will have the answer. Will have the answer before November 1st. If the military all set up logistically, they're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're all set up logistically. They're all set up. It's all set up. They're going to be
This is the same man.
It's all set up.
By Easter, this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
That was said sarcastically.
That was,
you know that.
I
was said sarcastically.
So here's the deal. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year, but the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out, if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. You pointed out, he puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying you can't, Senator Harris is saying you can't trust the scientists.
No, you can trust the scientists. There's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. Do you believe for a moment what he's telling you in light of all the lies he's told you about the whole issue relating to COVID? He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be.
That he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be.
A lot of people died. A lot of people died. And a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter.
Did you use the word smart? You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what?
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe.
You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with. You have to provide them
Nancy Pelosi.
Well, he's just shush for a minute. And he sits on his golf course, and well, I mean, literally, think about it.
You probably play more than I do, Joe.
And the fact
he wants to shut down this country, and I want to keep it open. And we did a great thing by shutting it down. Wait a minute, Joe. Let me shut you down for a second. Wait a minute, Joe. Let me shut you down for a second, Joe. Just for 1 second. He wants to shut down the country. We just went through it. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states, because they want to keep it shut down until after the election. Those states are not doing well that are shut down. I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on it, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test. I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He goes up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say...
We provided money...
But I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, we provided money...
But I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, masks make a big difference. If everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
And we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally on 24 hours notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks, basically encouraged them not to.
All right.
Ben, he's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the
economy?
Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy? Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy?
Yes. We built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of... Still, 204,000 people is too much. 1 person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. People know what to do. They can social distance, they can wash their hands, they can wear masks, they can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. These governors are under siege. You got to open these states up. It's not fair. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country.
What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well. But you folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? The idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety.
I'm the one that brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. I'm the one that brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars. I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars. I paid 30 papers. I paid $37 million.
Show us your tax returns.
I went, you'll see it as soon as it's finished.
When?
But let me just tell you, Senator,
you're the worst president America has ever had. Come on. You're the worst president America has ever had. Come on.
Let me just tell you, Joe, I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe.
What is the analysis done by Wall Street firms points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years. Number a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going
to about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. That was your tax proposal.
I got it done, and you know what happened?
You got it done.
Our economy boomed like it's never boomed.
You talk about the economy booming. It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had to leave. And plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal.
China ate your lunch. China ate your lunch, Joe. And also, while we're at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Burisma to deserve $183,000?
Totally discredited. And by the way...
Well, wait, he didn't get $3.5 million, Joe?
That's totally discredited. And by the way...
Well, wait, he didn't get $3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice...
He got $3.5 million.
That is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr. President, it's an...
Really?
Mr. President...
Really?
Mr. President,
it's a fact.
Well,
there's
raised an issue. Let the
my son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did.
Mr. President, let him answer. The final word.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Let me just
tell you.
No. Mr. President. Mr. President. Mr. President.
Here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family doesn't want to talk about what you need. Doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about.
To be honest, it's a very important question. He stood up.
No, the answer to the question is no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you
know what, you're not true.
You're going to have
true.
Gentlemen, I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well,
this is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. This man is a savior of African Americans? This man cares at all? This man's done virtually nothing. Look, and what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
That you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. The people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right.
Yes, there's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement. But there are some bad apples, and when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. But we have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right,
what is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of a town and burn down your stores and kill people all over the place?
That is not peaceful protest.
No, it's not. But you say it is. I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane. Look at the people. We were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and, frankly, very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place. It's a racist place. And they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
He's racist. He's racist. He's racist. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me who grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who are of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color.
Are you in favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow.
Are you in favor of law and order?
Yes, law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration. All right. It's gone up on his watch.
I think it's a party issue. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200% crime. It is crazy what's going on.
What I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police officers. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up, it went down.
He has no law enforcement.
That's not true.
Almost
that's
nothing.
Look.
All right, who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go ahead. Think. We have time.
I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. You know, his own former spokesperson said, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that.
What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists.
Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
right like me to condemn.
White supremacists and Proud
Boys, stand back and stand by. Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the...
Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got it.
Not militia. That's what...
There has never been an administration that's done what I've done.
Under this president, we've become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent.
Mr. President, wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign agreed to both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it, and why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word. He never keeps his word.
No, I'm not asking. That was a rhetorical question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yeah, yes, you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
We're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. And speaking of my son, he was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Are you talking about
I'm talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know, Bo. I know Hunter got thrown out of the military for
wasn't
cocaine use. And he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once he made a fortune,
my son,
and he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why was he given tens of millions of dollars?
He wasn't given tens of millions of dollars. That is totally discredited.
Well, as far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. But, we're planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project. Planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project. Trees, the Billion Tree Project. And it's very exciting.
You believe that humans
stop tearing down the forest. And if you don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his line?
Well, he hasn't drawn a line. He still, for example, makes sure that he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now. This is a guy who says that. Well, the fact is, it's all true. And here's the deal.
Talking about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking about.
They want to rip down buildings and rebuild the building. It's the dumbest, most ridiculous. Where airplanes are out of business, where two-car systems are out, where they want to take out the cows. That's not true either, right? This is a $100 trillion. That's more money than our country could make in 100 years if we
not the case.
All right, let me because wait a minute, sir. I actually have studied your plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy-efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs. The fact is, it's going to create millions of good-paying jobs. And we're in real trouble because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's problems.
So why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the world? He called the military stupid bastards. He said stupid bastards.
Stop.
I would never say that.
Play it.
Go ahead, Mr. Vice President. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote, they should go to iwillvote.com. Decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating. We're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and their polls stay open until the votes are counted. This is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. Well, he cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote.
This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. We might not know for months because these ballots are going to be all over. It's a fraud and it's a shame. This is not going to end well. This is not going to end well.
If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted.
Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified?
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. It means you have a fraudulent election. They cheat. Hey, they cheat. They cheat. Hey, they
Yes, and here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And our military, they've been voting by ballots since the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots. He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it.
Subscribe, comment, like. This the Red Room, y'all.